One particular concern is the livelihood of workers employed in the gig economy or in jobs without sick pay. Andrew Monkhouse is an employment and labor lawyer and founder of Monkhouse Law. He's in Toronto. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, thanks for having me today.
What happens right now if I'm in the gig economy, if I am a worker with no sick days, what happens if I'm ill in terms of pay?
Well, generally, if someone's counted as a contractor, they wouldn't get paid if they're not working, and the same goes for a lot of employees in Ontario. They used to have paid sick leave for a very short period of time, and then that got rolled back. So currently, there's no mandatory paid sick leave, although some workplaces have it. So you should assume, unless your company says otherwise, that you're not going to get paid unless you work.
And in terms of if you go into isolation or self-quarantine?
Well, if you can't work at all and you're not able to work during that time, the only real benefit you'd get, unless your company tops you up, is employment insurance. So that can be up to 55% of your income or $573 a week maximum, but you can't get it for the first week. There's a deductible. So if you're out for 2 weeks, you get maximum $573 is what a lot of workers would get.
If you contrast that scenario with unionized workers with sick pay, how different is it?
Well, unionized workers are much more likely to have sick pay. Still, though, depending on how much sick pay they have, 2 weeks is going to take out most of their sick pay for the year. So that's going to still cause issues for those workers. As well, unionized workers are more likely to have a temporary layoff scenario or a temporary decrease in hours that might be negotiated with the union, whereas the law for non-unionized workers in Ontario is that your employer isn't allowed to radically decrease your number of hours unless you agree. It could count as a constructive dismissal, or it could give rise to a claim.
So now that we have the government saying that, look, we're going to announce these supports for people and businesses hit by COVID-19 on tomorrow. That's the latest news that we're getting, and they're working on this plan to assist businesses and workers. It's going to announce supports for people facing immediate pressures. What would that need to look like for people who are, say, in the gig economy right now?
Well, for the gig economy, the biggest issue is going to be misclassification. So if someone really is working mostly as an employee, but they are being counted as a contractor, I mean, that's the big issue. Potentially expanding EI or speeding up the time if someone claims I should have been counted as a worker to be able to get access to EI would be a big deal. For those who are regular workers, not in the gig economy, getting rid of the EI deductible time. So the Liberals already reduced it from 2 weeks to 1 week. If you made it no weeks,
right. If
you just paid it quicker, that's going to help out a lot of people who are out for just 1 week or just 2 weeks in this short period of time that they have.
I guess there is some question as to how big a pot of money it would have to be, though, to be assisting those who could be hit by it.
Yes, I know. In the United States, where there's a greater effect, we've seen that the government there is looking to have a fairly large effect, trying to deal with these sorts of issues. But the problem is that if even one single, a service worker says, I'm feeling sick, but I have to go into work, that person could easily affect 10, 20 more and more people. And so those are the sorts of knock-on effects that can cause real problems within then getting more people sick, which really can be damaging the economy. We saw this in Italy. They shut down everything for 2 weeks. That's going to cause a massive effect and a problem in the economy if we get to the point where we're not controlling a virus or an influenza like this.
I mean, and it will, I'm assuming, also come back to the question of what industry will fall into the category of being able to be helped by the government, i.e., are there likely to be industries where right now we've been talking a lot about things like tourism, and we've been talking, of course, about industry which could be affected by the illness itself. But as that continues to spin, more and more industries will fall into the category of people just not wanting to gather in places with other people, right?
Yeah, it'll affect almost everything. I went to a restaurant today for my anniversary, and it was basically empty. It's going to cause a lot more problems as this goes on, but we can only hope that with summer coming, there will be potentially a decrease in some of this illness that's going around.
Are you expecting also companies to take some responsibility here too as well?
It is important for companies to take responsibility. for instance, allowing some work from home if people think they might be a bit sick, obviously allowing flexibility on doctor's notes. People might get more sick going into a doctor than just taking the employee's word for it that they are in fact sick. Them potentially offering flexible work arrangements or being able to separate their workforce to reduce the amount of that might be exposed. All of these things are reasonable, and I think companies are going to want to do that to protect their own bottom line.
Andrew Monkhouse, thanks very much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
That's Andrew Monkhouse, employment and labor lawyer and founder of Monkhouse Law. He was in Toronto. Once again, if COVID-19 is having an effect on how you work, or alternatively, what your